IB, takes the proud privilege to introduce Mr. Sumek Gopal, Lead India HR of Glenmark Pharmaceuticals. Sir is MBA from SMHRD. Sir carries more than 9 years of experience across media, ITES, consulting, and pharmaceuticals. He has worked as a quality analyst, consultant, and HR professional. Sir has traveled to more than 30 countries and has worked across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe. In his previous assignment, Sir was serving as the Director HR for Central and Eastern Europe business of Glenmark Pharmaceuticals and currently leads the HR function for India business. Glenmark India business has more than 4,000 employees, which are supported by a 25-member HR team. May I now request Sir to address the gathering. Sir, the podium is all yours.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Anushri, for the kind words. Of course, it's been an enriching journey with Glenmark. But to begin with, I would like to mention that it's almost like a homecoming for me. A, because I did my MBA from Pune, and B, the esteemed director of BIIB, Professor Inamdar, was also a professor for us when we were studying. So he used to take financial management course for us, and when Professor Inamdar contacted me, it was like, of course, why would I not want to meet one of the building blocks of our MBAs? So thanks a lot, sir, for inviting me over here. And honestly, it's a mixed feeling, feeling a little pity for the backbenchers over there. How many hours we'll have to sit over here to listen to all the presentations. And I was just mentioning to Professor Inamdar that during our times, we used to have national seminar in Pune, and most of the backlights were off. So you could catch up on your sleep because, I studied at the time when SMHRD had a different regime. So we had to wake up at 5 in the morning and go off to sleep at 11 in the night. So, but it's different times. It's, contemporary issues that we're facing nowadays. And so I hope that I'll keep you engaged for the next half an hour, 45 minutes. There are a couple of slides which I want to talk about, and then, over to the questions which you may have. So like Anushri mentioned, I lead the HR for the India business. We are, Glenmark is one of the fastest growing company. In fact, for the last quarter, we are the fastest growing company in Indian pharmaceutical industry. We have beaten the market by 2.5 times, so we've been growing at 25%. And that's led to a massive expansion which we have done over the last 1.5 years. In the last 18 months, we have added roughly 2,500 people. So it's always good to meet talent. It's always good to talk about what's happening in the industry and what's happening in HR. So just to run you a couple of slides. So when the topic was given to me, my first question was, what is contemporary? So I did some research with my colleague Kalpesh, who's also present in the auditorium today. Contemporary means belonging to the same period of time, and current and modern. I'm sure all of you are already aware about this. But it was difficult for me to pinpoint topics which are current and modern because the generation that we are in, we are facing the same issues for the last 3 years and will continue to face them for the next 7 years. So they are current, maybe not modern, but they belong to a different period of time, so they are coexisting. I'll talk about the issues in pharmaceutical industry, what's happening currently. And all the views mentioned here are my personal views and don't represent the organization where I work. How many of you here know what is pharmaceutical industry? What are generics and what are branded generics? Raise of hands. Okay. So not many. So before I get into that, just to give you, a flavor of what is pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industry is divided into 2 parts. One is generic and the other one is branded generics or, branded formulations or new chemicals or new formulations. Indian market is a branded generic / generic market, and the developed market is the new chemical entity or new molecule market. Why this differentiation is because, how many of you know Crocin? Okay, good. How many of you know paracetamol? Okay, good. So paracetamol is a generic. Crocin is the brand name, and tablet is a formulation. Okay? Today, in the market, anybody can launch a paracetamol because it's a generic molecule. But if you go to US, if there is a new drug which is patented by a big pharma or any company, not everybody can make that, and hence it's a patented market. India, after 2005, the WTO meeting and the patent scenario which has changed, after 1995 actually, is seeing a paradigm shift. Today, if you talk about the pipeline for new molecules, so it might be a little Greek to some of you, but I'll try and simplify as much as I can. So any new molecule takes at least 6 to 8 years to come to the market. And it goes through a pipeline, it goes through 4 rounds of trials. You have some trials which are in vitro, some trials which are on animals, some trials which are on human beings, and then you launch the molecule. So that's called a pipeline. Now, the pipeline for the drugs is drying up. What does it mean for the companies who are sitting in the developed markets? It means that they need to expand. They need to go and find business elsewhere. And hence, India is becoming a favorite hunting ground for multinational companies. I hope that you've followed the news which has happened, which is Daiichi Sankyo acquired Ranbaxy, and Abbott acquired Nicholas Piramil, 1.5 years back. So many such consolidations you will see happening over the next 5 years time period, because the big pharma is sitting on a pile of cash, but not too many molecules to launch in the market. So hence they need to acquire market share elsewhere. So we in the industry today are looking at many mergers and acquisitions. We are also looking at co-marketing. So companies are coming up together. For example, Roche and Emcure. Emcure is a Pune-based company. They have tied up together to launch some of the proprietary products of Roche. What this means is that the competition in the market is intensifying. The second challenge which the industry is facing today is that everyone is me too. So you have, for example, again quoting paracetamol. So for paracetamol, you will have roughly around 200 competitors in the market. So why would you go and buy a Crocin and not some, another paracetamol? The differentiation is setting in, and marketing is becoming very, very important in pharma. Pharmaceuticals, which was earlier known as, many of my batchmates who joined pharma, they used to say the pharma marketing is about kitchenware, spoons, and cutlery, because that's what you give to the doctor. But that scenario has changed because of the regulatory framework, and today you're talking about marketing in terms of real brand building. So there is a lot of stress on the talent available in the industry, on this training and development courses available in the industry for the marketing talent. The other big issue which we're facing right now is that where are all the people going? So today the industry-wide attrition, everybody is familiar with what is attrition? Okay. So for the non-HR guys, attrition is the number of people that leave you. So the industry-wide attrition in pharmaceuticals today is roughly at 25 to 30%, which means that 1/3 of your organization you are churning out within a year's time. And it's not an issue which is faced by an Indian company or a small company. It's an industry-wide trend. So nobody knows where are all these people going. And hence we got into analysis, a couple of us got together from the industry and said, what's happening? And we realized that, going back to the point number 1, that MNCs are hunting in India, and hence a lot of talent is moving towards the MNCs. So you groom a talent for a year and you lose that to an MNC. When I say MNC, I'm not talking about Indian MNC, I'm talking about the American and the European MNCs in this case. The fourth challenge which we are facing in the industry today is that where are the good guys? So the competition is intensifying. You have the challenge in the pipeline in marketing, but you don't have the good quality talent. And I'll talk about that in a bit in the next slides also. Today, pharmaceutical industry and linking that to HR is not a sector which many people want to join willingly. It's a difficult sector to work in. It's a 20th generation industry. The workforce is changing. And hence, we find it a little difficult to create attractiveness for the talent to come and work in pharmaceutical industry. That's the pull which we are trying to create, but also from the push. So the genuine skill set which we require for the pharmaceutical industry in research and development space or in marketing space or in operations space is missing. So I'm hoping that I was talking to a couple of your, batchmates, and some of them mentioned that they worked with the pharmaceutical industry earlier. And I latched onto that, and I said, just send me your profiles, because we'd love to have a look at students who worked in pharma and have done management after that. The fourth point, and again, this is something which was expected, but not anticipated so soon. So regulatory framework in India is changing day by day. India is predominantly a customer-driven industry, so very price conscious. When you go and buy a drug, the price of the drug is very important to you and to the doctor who's prescribing that drug. And hence, it's important, that who's going to bear the cost of the drug. So I'm telling you about what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. In the next 5 to 10 years, the industry will be much more closer to the insurance sector, to the hospital sector. And that's why you see a bloom happening in the hospital industry right now. You have a lot of corporate hospitals who are coming in, Fortis, Max. You have a lot of companies which are tying up with the insurance sector. This regulatory framework is changing. Also, there are a lot of guidelines which government is putting on the drug policy, pricing, on the new product introductions, on what are the Medical Council of India guidelines on how do you promote your drugs. So regulatory framework are becoming much more closer to the West, or much more becoming closer to the developed sector, which is happening sooner than expected. The next point is one of the most important point, and I'll spend some time on this. Over the last 10 years, when there was a boom in the pharmaceutical industry, it was happening primarily because we were a low-cost economy. So you saw a lot of manufacturing industries coming in, a lot of contract manufacturing in pharma happening, because we could produce drugs at a much lower cost. But I don't know whom to blame. The manpower or the talent crunch, the cost has gone through the roof, basically. And that's where we are losing our competitiveness. So I was talking to, again, some of my colleagues in the organization. 10 years ago, it was easier to put 2 plants in Goa and produce for the entire world. Today, it's cheaper to put a plant in US than in Goa. So that's the paradigm shift which has happened in terms of cost in the industry today. So India is no longer a cost economy, and that's impacting pharma industry also. So we are no longer a source of low-cost manufacturing. It's becoming an issue for sure, because the profit margins which you already had were low, and now because of the stress being put on the pipeline and in the P&L, the cost is becoming an issue for the industry. The next point, which maybe Raim will, with some of you here, in fact all of you, all of you are 21st generation workforce, except me. And of course, I can probably comment on behalf of my colleague Kalpesh. He's also 20th generation. So the industry is 20th generation. What does it mean? It means that the systems and processes in the industry are a little behind the schedule as compared to an IT industry or a banking and financial sector or an FMCG. But the workforce which is coming in through the door every day is 21st generation. So they think differently, they want to do things differently, and I'll talk about that in a bit. What makes you and what makes the industry. And that imbalance is creating problems for us. The last point, I think, on the issues in pharmaceutical industry, which is something which all of you are aware. Mane sir, everybody's aware what happened in Maruti? So Maruti got impacted by that, but it's not that any other industry or any other company is completely untouched by what's happening in the market today. So unions are back. The trade unionism is back in the industry. And we are definitely struggling with the skill set issues. So we don't have people who have seen the genuine IR issues which used to happen in the late 70s and early 80s, and in fact trickle down to 90s also. The current generation who's been around for 10, 12 years, they have not seen what's happening in the union, basically, and that's becoming an issue for the industry. So those are some of the issues which the pharmaceutical industry is facing. Talking about the HR issues in pharmaceutical industry, we as an industry, we lack the gender diversity, both in sales and also in a manufacturing setup. Is it important? Of course. With the times changing, the gender diversity and diversity in any sense is becoming important for us, because you need to have a balance in your workforce. Pharmaceutical also has been insulated from the talent from other industries. So it's a small market. It's a small industry. You see people moving from one company to another and getting absorbed there. And then they move further forward and, they don't allow any other sector to penetrate into pharmaceutical industry. So that was this challenge for us because, there's a limited pool of people that you can hire from. And that gives, a pressure on the talent pipeline for us. Many opportunities available for youngsters. I mean, hand to your heart, how many of you will join pharmaceuticals in sales? Hand to your heart. So 10%. So there are many opportunities available for youngsters to go into telecom, in ITES, banking, and pharmaceutical, like I earlier mentioned, is not so talent attractive. And hence that's becoming an issue for us, that how do we engage our current workforce and how do we get people on board? Issues in HR. So issues in HR are really contemporary because this is being created by the generation that's sitting right here, right across, the podium. We are dealing with a workforce which is ambitious, which believes in instant gratification. So for us, right here, right now is what we expect. It'll be a stupid question to ask. I'm sure all of you are on Facebook. So today we face situations where boss says something to the subordinate and it goes on Facebook the next day and you see 25 likes and 300 comments on that. So good or bad, the comments are comments and everybody gets impacted by that. So right here, right now, whatever I want, I need it now is the demand of the current workforce. Is it an issue in HR? Absolutely. There is a limited pool of opportunities or the funds available to basically support the talent, and you cannot satisfy or gratify, if I can use that word, everybody. So that's an issue. We are also seeing a big trend of successful people getting into their own ventures. So entrepreneurship, in fact, many of the business schools today have entrepreneurship cell. To inculcate, to incubate the thoughts which, some of the bright students or some of the students have. But even in the industry, you see people after 10 to 12 years of experience, when they have been developed as a talent, both for leadership and also for skill set, they want to venture out. So how do I retain somebody who wants to venture out? I mean, if they've taken a call that I want to build something on my own rather than spending time in the industry or in the company, that becomes an issue. So there is a challenge in terms of retention of talent, good quality talent. Changing roles in the family. This point was brought by Kalpesh, and very interesting point. Today you have sinks and dinks, double income, no kids. Sooner or later, of course, kids do happen. I mean, facts of life. But the double income has given flexibility to people to choose what they want to do. And hence, you see a lot of, the male-dominant family, the paradigm shifting there. So you have house husbands coming in. You have, wives who are taking much better roles, growing much faster, and hence husband taking a back seat. You also see, your good quality talent standing up and saying, listen guys, I'm not dependent on you. I have a family income. If you fire me today, it's not an issue for me. So that's the new generation for you. They come with a lot of confidence when they walk into the door. They know that they have a backup in terms of a double income in the family. And that's changing roles for them. Our generation, and I'm using the word our deliberately because I think the generation gap now is setting up within 3 years time period, which used to be 10 and then 5 is now 3 years. So if I talk to people from 2007, 2008, people who have completed their MBAs, it's a completely different mindset which we are bringing in. How many of you were born in 90s? Yeah. So quite a few. And in the next 2 to 3 years time period, we'll have the kids who have only seen Windows. So, that's surprising, so because we've seen computers in 95, 96, and these are the guys who probably only seen Windows in 95. So the competition is increasing day by day. We're becoming aspirational, we're becoming ambitious. We want to do different things. Which was competition earlier, now people have started taking stress for that. So the competition leads to longer working hours, no time spent with the family, and no time for your hobbies, no time to what's that in Google Plus? Hangout. So no time to do all those things, and that leads to stress. So how do I engage my workforce when they're going to spend 10 hours a day in the office? The next point is quite pertinent to what's happening today. The inflation is rising. I mean, just to compare the starting salaries in 2004, 2003, with a 1 month salary, you could have bought, 5 tolas of gold. That has gone down to 2 tolas now, and hence, inflation is catching up. A meal for two in a good restaurant would have costed you 600 rupees 2 years ago. It's now 1500. So those are the realities which even you will face when you join the MNCs or any other organization. Inflation is rising, and that's giving anxiety to people. That what's going to happen on my savings? Where am I going to get the funds to buy a house? My friend has got, like one of the earlier panelists was saying, my friend has got a BMW, but I don't have that. Of course, at the BMW level, the inflation doesn't, matter much, but the competition leading to inflation is creating a lot of anxiety amongst people. And that anxiety, in some way or the other, comes as uproar, which we see in the unions. Again, like I said, the current generation is extremely ambitious. They want to do things at a fast pace. I was surprised when I met, one of my known persons, and they said, this lady, she said that, I've got a rating of A+ in my company today, and I believe that I'm ready for promotion. This after spending 1.5 years in that job, and the next job being much higher. So there is a disconnect in terms of what people want to do and what are their skill sets. This in HR we look as an opportunity, because that gives us an opportunity to develop the talent. We have a lot of training and development opportunities and interventions available to us. But yeah, that's certainly becoming an issue, and with so many jobs available, people do move out for one grade jump or one designation jump. So the sense of loyalty is also, something which is changing. This point I mentioned earlier also. So we have well-connected employees across organizations and geographies. Nobody is insulated today, so you get into any organization. I really cannot think of any organization today which is only present in India. You have organizations which are present elsewhere, or into partnerships with other companies who are present globally. You on a weekly or a monthly basis, you meet employees and colleagues from various other countries. So people are connected, and people get to see what's happening in other industries. I mean, the Arabic uprising which happened last year was a classic example of that. The people are connected, and hence they are acting on issues which are pertinent to all of them. Similarly, in industry today and HR generally, is people come up to you and say that I see HUL doing this thing for their employees, or that you have ICICI doing, having a volleyball tournament or a picnic. Why can't we do that? So employees compare, and then they expect, and the organizations have to be ready for that. You can no longer say that this is not in our culture, because the culture is basically seeming through one organization to another. The roles which HR has played, so from personal relations to personal management to human resource management to HR business partnership. This role, this paradigm shift from PR to PM to HRM took almost 25 years to happen. But the last leg, which is HRM to HRBP, has happened suddenly. So today when you go in HR, in the industry, I'm sure, some of the HR students here also, in the second year specifically, will face that, you are in HR, what do you do? So that's the trend which is happening in the industry, that HR has to be a business partner, and they need to know what is their role. And that shift is something which the HR talent is struggling in some organizations. Of course, some organizations have matured enough to understand what is the role of an HR business partner. And that's becoming an issue. So today you don't have the skill set to really become a business partner. You're going to spend time, and connecting that with the point that extremely ambitious. Today you have people, within 3 years they become HR managers, and within 5 years they want to become HR heads. So where is the talent going to come from? Where is the skill set which will develop? The same point, HR not ready for change management. Last point is important. All of us have been brought up in an extremely healthy and happy environment. You know, our years of growing have been in the post-1991 scenario, so we saw a lot of exposure, a lot of opportunities available to us, a lot of choice available to us. So we really don't know what we don't know. And that's where the experience matters a lot. I'm sure that we take a pride in the fact that between 15 to 65 is 60% of India's population. 15 to 35 is 65% of India's population. But this population has never seen a recession. This population has never seen the bad times. And we don't know what we're going to do when we face a scenario like that. So that's a panic which we need to be ready for, and that's what the HR preparedness will take. So that's about it from my side in terms of the presentation. What are the contemporary issues in pharma industry and HR? Yeah, claps can happen too, but I mean, if you have some questions, then I'll be more than happy to answer.